Welcome to the Occupational Safety Leadership Podcast, episode number 118 with Jack Springston. Jack, if you could tell the audience a little bit about yourself, please, and then we'll get started.
Thank you. I'm a certified industrial hygienist, a certified safety professional. I'm a technical consultant for Atlas Technical Consultants, actually. I've been doing industrial hygiene work for over 37 years now. So, and I'm based out of Metro New York region.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Jack. Thank you. So, I first saw your article in American Safety Professional. No, I'm sorry, American Society of Safety Professionals. I keep on thinking of the old ASSE. So it was in the American Society of Safety Professionals, and when I sat down, I really started thinking that I think I do a good job of when I find mold, I know how to handle it. But I bet you that I'm probably missing aspects out there, and there's probably things that I really don't know. So I really wanted to sit down and just kind of talk to you. If we could just, for the audience, I have just a small list of things here. If we could just go over a definition of a bioaerosol.
Bioaerosol, I mean, you ever watched the movie Twister? That old
Oh, yeah.
movie, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
Remember the scene where the cow went flying past the car?
Yeah, uh-huh.
That's a bioaerosol. It's a big ass bioaerosol, but basically it's anything of biological origin that's in the air. So it could be particulates, it could be volatile organic compounds that are produced by bioaerosols. So it's a wide variety of anything of biological origin.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, I know that I'm a self-taught expert in making mold as much as I am on getting rid of mold at the same time. So I guess I'd like to sit down and really, when I think about mold and it has a color to it, of course, I'm obviously really good at finding that. That's super obvious. I seem to find those in places that are not well traveled. The maintenance may be spotty at times, but could you just cover a couple of little hints on helping people on really how to go back and investigate this hazard?
Well, I think it's important for people to realize mold is not the problem. Mold is merely a symptom of what the problem is, and the problem is moisture. Either uncontrolled moisture through relative humidity, not controlling the amount of humidity within your space. Even if you control the humidity, if you have cold surfaces, you can get condensation occurring on those surfaces. Now you have enough available free water for the mold to grow. Right? Or if you have a pipe leak and you don't bother drying it out rapidly or quickly enough, you're going to end up with mold. So again, mold is merely a symptom of what the actual problem is: uncontrolled moisture.
Yes, yes, yes. So when I sit down and I think about it, probably most of the cases that I've been, and of course it's only been a handful. It's either been from a roof leak where they, claimed that the roof was fixed, of course, but they probably didn't bother to go back and clean up the water. Now it had a nice place to grow. And a couple times in an HVAC system where they decided to save a whole bunch of money and just run it until it fails. But it never did fail, and instead it caused a health hazard instead.
Yeah, HVAC systems are notorious. If you think about it, I mean, the HVAC system, especially when you're in a cooling mode, it's a wet system. You've got your cooling coils where you've got all that moisture, and then just downstream of your cooling coils where your fan unit typically is, a lot of times that's internally lined for sound suppression. You get dirt into that internal lining. Now you have very high humidity levels, right? And you're going to end up with mold growth.
Okay. Yeah, actually, that makes perfect sense now. I just know that when I got there, that the HVAC was already off, and so it's not quite the same as kind of finding it and then kind of saying now I can kind of go over that whole, what caused this whole thing then. So very good, very good, very good. So I'd like to also sit down and kind of talk about the different the remediation techniques that you found out there, and is there one that you prefer, or is it more of a situation dictates out there?
Well, if you have mold growth, then remove it, get rid of it. Right?
Mhm.
It's as simple as that. There's people who will try to tell you, oh, you can clean it, you can use biocides, you can do fogging to get rid of it. Right? There's some highly questionable people out there with fogging, using basically a strong sodium hypochlorite solution to bleach the snot out of it, right? So now you
Wow.
can't see
Okay.
it because it's bleach, but it's still there,
Right.
right? So if you have porous materials, right, such as like wallboard or carpeting or anything like that, where it's gotten wet and you've got mold growth, then remove it, remove and replace.
Okay. Okay. So you wouldn't recommend using bleach or some other form and just really just scrubbing it and scrubbing it? Just cut it
Um,
out and get rid of it?
you can use like cleaning solutions for, like, let's say we have superficial growth on the surface of like a semi-porous or non-porous material. Those
Hmm.
you can clean. It's
Hmm.
easy
Hmm.
enough.
Hmm.
But once you've got a porous material where you've got established mold growth, it's starting to deteriorate that material.
Right.
And just trying to clean it off doesn't work. I mean, if you look at EPA, OSHA, NIOSH, AIHA, ACGIH, they all say the same thing. If you have mold growth on porous material, and IICRC says it too, remove and replace. And there's as I mentioned, there's a lot of people out there that say, oh, we need to use like a biocide to kill the mold before we remove it. Why? If you're removing it, why do you need to kill it? Why are you using chemicals that are poisonous to people
Hmm.
for something that you're going to remove and throw away anyway?
Right. 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 So I got a call into one place to go and they investigate, and all that. And I was like, yeah, you got mold, you got this, and they were like, well, thanks a lot for your time and your effort, but we're gonna go and find some other mechanism. So out of curiosity, I circled back in a couple of months, and they had taken another set of ductwork and run it right next to the one that had all the mold in it, and just kind of capped it and sealed it in place. You know, and they thought that that was a pretty good mechanism to kind of keep it, and then keep down the cost, of course, by not ripping out the ductwork and everything else. So I wasn't too jazzed with that, but of course it wasn't my project. So
It 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 sounds rather bizarre to me.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, you've been in the world of safety. You've probably seen a lot of strange things out there. So
Yes.
so how would the normal everyday person, let's kind of go over a little journey to the world of hypothetical. So a person is sitting in a office cube and says, hey, I think I have difficulty breathing. It kind of feels like it's really damp and moist in this area. How do you think that and and of course they call you, and you just have just that little bit of info. What kind of steps would you kind of do to get started, at least, you think?
um, First and foremost, when you're dealing with mold, for a mold inspection is a thorough, informed visual inspection, as well as what we say olfactory, right? It's
Hmm.
smelling. It's a sniff test. If
Right,
if
right,
you
right.
go into a space and you smell that earthy, musty, moldy odor,
Hmm.
there's mold and bacteria growing somewhere, actively growing. That's a dead giveaway, right? If you can't find it, then look deeper because it's there. That's it,
Right.
right? So that's really the biggest thing is if is that visual you're looking for, is there evidence of water staining, water damage? Do I have musty odors? You can also go in using like a thermal infrared camera, which
Hmm. Okay.
the camera only tells you hot and cold, right? But
Mm-hmm.
if you have a wet surface where the water is evaporating off that surface is colder. So thermal infrared camera, you can scan, and if you see cold spots, you can then use a moisture meter to figure out, is it actually wet? All right.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is, okay, there's my water. All right. Now we need to figure out, okay, why is that getting wet? And it can be really simple if you had like an overflowing toilet or a pipe burst, right? Or a
Mm-hmm.
roof leak, relatively simple. But in instances where you're dealing with maybe air infiltration through a building envelope and condensation occurring within wall cavities and stuff, it gets much more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's where you really need to call in like an expert to be able to tell. I mean, there's instances where I'm like, well, I know there's an issue with the building envelope, but I'm not a building scientist. I know enough to get myself in trouble. Let's contact a building envelope specialist.
Right, right. So somebody who can look at the entire building and not like a aspect by aspect in certain areas. Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah, or if it's like an HVAC system, right? I
Mm-hmm.
I know enough to be able to, yes, this is why, but I can't tell you how to fix it. You need a mechanical engineer to come in and tell you.
Right. Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good. I think for my next question, uh, so I get a lot of questions about people saying, "Hey, I want to take mold off of a like a steel surface." When you think about like in your basement, you have it on like the concrete block and that kind of stuff. Then, is there something that you would recommend in those cases? Because that's a pretty tough surface. It does not have those pores in it. Is that something that is just really easy to clean and get rid of?
Well, concrete, concrete's a really hard sponge,
Hmm.
much like cinder block, right? It's a porous material.
Oh,
You put
yes,
water
right.
on it, and it just so whatever mold is growing on it is growing on the dirt on the surface. It's not growing on the concrete itself. The
Right,
concrete is inorganic, right?
right.
So it's a matter of being able to clean that surface. My typical recommendation for cleaning surfaces is to use a mild detergent solution, such as like Dawn dishwashing soap, right?
Oh, okay.
If you can clean penguins with it without concern after an oil spill, I'm not concerned about using it in the house for cleaning surfaces.
Right. I'm just taking a couple of notes because this is really good for me too, to go back and look at also. So
Hmm.
very good. Very good. Is there anything that you'd like to tell the audience that maybe we haven't kind of stumbled upon, just to kind of give them that introduction to mold, an introduction to bioaerosols?
Well, um, I just spent the last 4.5 years updating, along with the 34 other people, updating ACGIH's Bioaerosols book, which
Mhm.
will be coming out next month, middle of next month. It'll be coming out. It's completely updated. The original came out in 1999.
Mhm.
And as I said, we've been working on it now for 4.5 years. It contains a ton of information if people are interested. It's not just mold that we're talking about. We
Mhm.
talk about viruses such as like the SARS-CoV-2.
Mhm.
We talk about like tuberculosis. We talk about potential weaponization of certain bioaerosols. So we talk about mycotoxins, which is becoming a bigger scam in my mind, as well as like endotoxins, which are endotoxins are associated with environmental bacteria and can cause respiratory um, symptoms similar to like mold.
I'd like to backtrack for a second. Um, you had mentioned something and said that it's a scam out there. Let's go back and unpack that whole thing for a second.
Well, that's the mycotoxins. So there's several labs. I'm not going to mention any names. Obviously, I don't want to get in trouble, but labs are pushing about environmental mycotoxins, and are hypothesizing or saying that exposure to mycotoxins in the indoor environment are what's causing a whole host of health issues with individuals. Now, I could go on for a couple of hours just on mycotoxins, but like mycotoxins, strictly speaking, there's only like 5 or 6 agriculturally important mycotoxins, and our exposure is through the food that we eat. You get mold growth on grains, on nuts, um, on coffee. I mean, you name it, right? And that mold, when it's growing, if it's under the right conditions, right amount of moisture and everything, they will produce they're secondary metabolites. And as I said, there's like 5 or 6 that are known to harm people and animals, right? And it's a problem worldwide. Well, there are labs that will do testing for those specific mycotoxins, but in dust and in air samples taken indoors. But the important thing to realize is that the molds that produce these mycotoxins on grains and nuts and everything, they don't produce them when they're growing indoors. They don't have the right ingredients. Think about it, right? There's Aspergillus flavus can produce aflatoxins when it's growing on peanuts, right? But if it's growing on wallboard, right, you don't have the proteins, right? Unless you make your wall out of peanut butter, it doesn't have the right ingredients to produce these mycotoxins.
Right. Okay.
And there's been tons of studies looking at people in agricultural settings, right, where you expect high levels of it in the dust and everything, where they've seen in certain occupations, yes, you can have elevated airborne mycotoxins if there's enough mold growth in the grain and everything that you're disturbing. But in an indoor environment in your house, it's not possible. It's just not possible.
Okay. I need to go back and look up this because you had mentioned some things that I commonly ingest, such as coffee beans, peanuts, all that kind of stuff then. So I'm doing everything I can not to have too much grain now, but I still do. So, interesting. I need to go back and really educate myself
Well,
on
an
this
important thing to realize too is our body is very good at metabolizing stuff. And it's very good at metabolizing a lot of these mycotoxins. The half-life in the body of some of these mycotoxins is on the order of minutes to hours.
Wow, that's really
So
fast.
the longest known is ochratoxin A, which has a half-life of around a month, 32 days, somewhere around there. So if there's urinary analysis that can be done for some of these mycotoxins. If you submit a sample of your urine taken in the morning and a sample that you've taken in the afternoon, you're going to end up with completely different numbers depending on, in the morning, did you drink a bunch of coffee? And did and did you have oatmeal, right? And in the afternoon, did you have red wine or something? So your numbers fluctuate greatly. There are doctors out there that, however, that will say, oh, you need to be detoxified from these mycotoxins, and it takes months to years. They're full of what when they tell their patients that.
Well, I think anybody that tells me not to drink a whole pot of coffee every day, I'm probably going to say no. So I don't know.
I'm with you on that one.
Well, Jack, this was fantastic, and you've given me a lot of notes. So I think I really need to go back, educate myself a whole lot more on this, and I'd like to sit down and talk to you about doing a part two in the future, if that's going to be good and all that stuff. So where can folks catch up with you out there?
Easiest way is through email, and it's john.springston at oneatlas.com.
Perfect, Jack. Thank you so much. So, is there anything that you'd like to end with today?
Yeah, remember, mold's not the problem, it's the moisture.
Right, right, right. I think that's going to be a new way for me to think about it. To think about mold is just that symptom. It's not really what that problem is. So,
Yes.
thank you, Jack. Appreciate it, bud. You have a great day. So,
You too.
okay, everybody, thank you so much, and have a great day.